In these periods of turmoil, the left sees an opportunity to advance an agenda that otherwise doesn't have public support.
We've seen temperatures on average going up, but beyond that, it's really hard to detect changes that you can attribute to human influences. The UN says we can't detect a trend, let alone attribute it to human influences.
Going back 5-6 years, you would never have found a climate scientist point to a hurricane and say, that was 10% stronger or 20% stronger because of climate change. That was just not done.
Because that's just not good science. Everybody knows that. I had individual, very heartbreaking stories of people saying they couldn't visit their dying elderly parent. They couldn't even remove their parent from the hospital.
Known about the infection-acquired immunity or natural immunity since 430 BC, and suddenly we have established scientists who are questioning that, including the current CDC director.
If you remember, Anthony Fauci essentially said that this manufactured or enhanced virus was not gain-of-function research. It was absurd.
Everybody knows the power of the government. When they just suggest something, it's not just a suggestion. During the Trump administration, people were accused of lying to Congress. The FBI snatched them out of bed early in the morning and put them in jail. Now that we have people on the other side of the aisle accused of lying, nothing's happening.
There's no way for Biden to say, oh, I have nothing to do with this investigation and these charges into Trump, because ultimately they're done under his name.
We need to come to grips with the fact that they are willing to use any means at their disposal against us. They are willing to use power. They are willing to change any rule.
Wokeness, quote unquote, very much resembles religion. There are almost direct parallels. Original sin is privilege and so on.
There's a secular belief system that is its own religion. It's allowing no space for other beliefs. That leads me to conclude it is an attempt to get control.
If I were sitting in China wondering how to undermine my chief rival, I could do no better than to teach the country that it's morally bankrupt, that its founding father statues need to be taken down, that it's built on plunder.
What has happened is more and more universities have begun to see their role as a role of changing the world rather than understanding.
During the pandemic, I think Stanford essentially de facto repudiated its commitment to academic freedom. Free exchange of ideas, even disagreement, was impossible without essentially the politics of personal destruction coming to professors and scientists who had different ideas.
You can't have a coherent country, you can't have a peaceful country, you can't have a successful country if everyone views someone else in this, what your word was, tribalistic way.
It is impossible to find a corner of American experience, American effort, American institutions that is not being torn down by the phony racism charge. As long as racism remains the only allowable explanation for any racial disparities in any institution, it is all coming down. I cannot stress this enough.
Make no mistake, this is a lot bigger than just fairness in women's sports. There's a lot of pieces to this. That should be really chilling. That should be really chilling to these people. Whether that's the silencing, whether that's the denying of objective truth, biological reality, whether that's the changing of the language.
We are Americans. This country was founded on freedom and independent thinking. And it's not just permitted in a society like ours. It is a requirement to speak up for freedom, because if you don't, those freedoms disappear.